I've recently been taking a look at Rob Papen's Explorer 6-pack. Sounds like I've been pulling up his jumper and looking at his tummy, but no, I've been looking at this. Currently €399, $399, and you get all of these. So it's a really comprehensive package with drums and effects and lots of different types of synthesis. But as I've been playing with them, obviously they're all different, they all make different sounds, and what's notable about the Rob Papen stuff is that they're all quite unique, and he doesn't have analog emulations until I came across BIT. I'm not sure what BIT stands for. It's just their ultimate virtual analog synthesizer. And I noticed it's got oscillator 1, oscillator 2, it's got a sub, it's got, obviously it's got a filter with its own envelope and a separate amp envelope. And I thought it really reminds me of my Sub 37, which has got 2 oscillators, a mixer section with a sub, some noise. You've got the noise over here on the Rob Papen. And there's a few different filter types on the Sub 37, 6 to 24 pole. On BIT, you've got 12 dB and 24 dB low pass, high pass, and band pass and notch. So the similarities aren't extensive, but enough, I thought, to have a little play around and see if you can make the BIT sound a bit like the Sub 37. I wonder if that's what BIT stands for. It sounds a bit like lots of different things. So one really famous user of the Sub 37 is Stephan Bodzin, and I hope I've pronounced that right. And as his track, Singularity, he's got the big lead that everyone sort of knows. It's made on a Sub 37. It's a really simple patch to make, so I thought I'll make it on both of these and see how they compare. Here it is on the Sub 37. I'm not playing it exactly like it is in the track because I don't want to get copyright infringement. Also, then I'd have to remember exactly how to play it. So that sounds like it to me. And here is on the BIT. And it's actually quite difficult to play this on the Sub 37 keyboard, which is what I'm doing it on, because there's not enough octaves. I need to play more than 37 keys. So I keep on trying to switch between the octave switches, which is why the playing's a bit rubbish. So sorry about that, but... But you get the idea. Let's break it down into its constituent parts. It's 2 oscillators, oscillator 1, a sawtooth, oscillator 2, a 7th up. Let's just take off the reverb for a minute. And then maybe a little bit of sub. You can hear just a subtle hint there. And you can hear that the sort of notes themselves are beating between each other, and that's because it's not a perfect 7th. That wow, 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 wow. On the Sub 37, I'm using this thing called the beat frequency. Which is a way of detuning the 2 oscillators so that the beat in between them stays the same. So the actual tuning changes, but the beating stays the same tempo. And that's so you can do nice bass lines with it. I don't think it's an LFO. I think it's just the beat in between the 2 oscillators that you hear. And it's really that simple. So let's try that on the bits and just show you what I've done again. So let's take off oscillator 2 and take off the sub. Now for the bit to sound anything like the Sub 37, you can't have the cutoff too high because the Sub 37 is quite a dark sounding instrument. So with that cutoff turned off full on the bit, it sounds a lot brighter than the Sub 37. I'll just play that now. Sub 37 again there, sounding a lot duller. So you've got to knock the cutoff down to a maximum of 7.5 kilohertz, which is weird, but that's how it works. You can use the 24 dB LP1 or LP2. It doesn't make any difference really with this because you're not using the resonance. But if you are going to use the resonance, you would use the LP2 because it acts a little bit more like a Moog ladder filter. If you turn the resonance up, you lose a lot of volume, which you don't get on LP1. Although you do get more resonance. And just if you're interested, you get a lot more resonance on this sub 37 than you do on the bit. Just try that. And you don't have to go back to the Rob Papen to tell us any difference. And in fact, if you look at the frequency analyzers on the bottom right there, you'll see the difference in them. Huge difference. So luckily for this track, we don't need to use it. So bringing back in oscillator 2, resonance all the way down, cut off no more than 7.5 kilohertz. And I've got the key tracking up here, set it as maximum it'll go because we want it to be duller when we play lower down and brighter when we play higher up. Which it is. The sub 37 has more key tracking ability. It can go up to 200%. This can only go up to 100%. But it doesn't really matter in this track because you're constantly adjusting the filter as you're playing the track anyway. So you can record that in or play it live. So let's bring in the second oscillator. Sounds nice. And you'll see here the semitones are on +7. Where is it? Up on the top right here. It's quite sensitive. And I've put it a little fine detune on. If you have it exactly in tune, you don't get that nice thick beating. And using a fine tune to change the beating at different frequencies makes it sound more interesting than just sticking on an LFO as well. And then add a touch of square sub-oscillator. The sub-oscillator on the sub 37's a square. And that's it. Let's stick the reverb back in. And he does a beautiful thing with the glide on this as well. It's really clever. On the sub 37, you can independently use glide on oscillator 1 or 2. So there's just on 1, just on 2, or on both. Most synths, it's always either on or off for both. So if we just put it on 2, and we play from here up to the next note with a nice long glide time. And then just modulate between it being on and off, having glide on both oscillators or just on one of them. Really nice trick. And it adds to the ear candy. So let's have a listen to that low down. I think that's how he does it on the track itself. And of course higher up, bringing it in and out with shorter and longer glide times. On the bit, it's not as flexible. As I say, I think the sub 37 is the only synth I know of that has independent switching for the two oscillators on glide. But it does have portamento, i.e. glide. Let's have a listen to it. It's a little bit more difficult for me to play that live because I'm trying to use the mouse and the keyboard, but you get the idea. You could set up your controller to adjust that as well, I suppose. Let's try that. Latch to MIDI CC. There we go. Let's try again. And then what we can do is add a little bit of this multi-drive on the Sub 37. Thickens up the sound nicely, doesn't it? If you just look at that on oscillator 1 on its own, see what it does. Just distorts that slightly. So let's just try that again. Add the reverb. Beautiful. And back to Mr. Papen's bit. We also have distortion on the amp section of this. It gets a lot dirtier than the Sub 37, that, doesn't it? So let's just try that on a single oscillator again. I think around the halfway mark, maybe just a little bit over. Bring everything else back in. Bit too much. And then bring the reverb back in here as well. Lovely. So yeah, a nice bit of fun. If you can't afford the Sub 37 and you want to do Stephan Bodzin style stuff, try the Rob Papen bit. It sounds a bit like it. Hope that was of some use or interest to someone somewhere. See you next time.